God damn it, I fucking love it.
That's fucking heat, bro.
That is one way to really get somebody's fucking mind rolling. I fucking love it.
That's what I'm saying. Like the balance of like the height,
Yeah.
right? Just to get like pumped up. Like this is about to happen. Get excited.
Phenomenal find, dude. I love that shit. God damn it.
Yeah, I'm satisfied with it. Very satisfied.
That's great. Well, fuck, man. First time have you back in 4 weeks?
Yeah, it's been a while.
It's been a little bit.
I've been a busy guy, and amongst a bunch of other stuff that's been happening, just regular adult parent life. I don't know, fucking all of it.
How dare you try and live your life?
Just busy shit in general.
Yeah.
Which kind of ties into something that's been on my mind for not recently, but for like a hot minute is time itself. I think a lot about how people accomplish things, right? So there's nice one. We're gonna keep that in.
Yeah, fuck yeah, we are. Nice little bottle tap for the listeners.
In this age, you see a lot of people sort of doing their own thing, right? Entrepreneurs or content creators, or people just having their own businesses and doing their own things as like independent artists, or just whatever the case is.
Sure.
And doing something like that myself is something that, for the regular listeners, you're probably all really familiar with it by now. But I've always wondered how these people start doing something like that and then turn it into like a full-time career or like a full-time job. Like where do you find the time to do that and to be okay? And like the only scenarios that play out of my head are that, like, they either start when they're young, so they're like still living with their parents and they don't really have that much responsibility, and so they just have this free time to sort of dive into this thing, and then throughout that period, 2, 3, 4, 5 years or whatnot, it sort of blossoms into this thing. But if you're somebody who has a full-time job and you have a family and you have responsibilities, like balancing your time between all of these things is really challenging.
Right.
Like for me, I'm busy all of the time, 7 days a week, every week. And that's just me with the free time that I have, just trying to make something happen within that amount of time. Right. And there's a very common saying where people say, like, you don't have time unless you make time. But which I agree with to some capacity.
Right. Yeah. But that's kind of a big gray area for me.
Yeah. Because in like a lot of cases, like I literally don't have the time.
I don't have time to make the time.
I either sleep less or I have to replace something. Right. So making the transition from having a full-time job and doing something on your own on the side into doing something on your own full-time, like cutting out work completely. How do you do that alongside? So like, how do you build something while working full-time with the little time that you have? Or how do you just quit your full-time job and dive into this thing and then just hope it works. Right.
We have kind of an interesting contrast here, because what you're saying is accurate for a lot of people. I just so happen to be in somewhat of an interesting point in my life to where I can kind of dedicate more than I should. If that makes sense. I'm not gonna sit here and tell you that what I'm doing is probably healthy by any means, because I'm still throwing away like 90% of my time. But just having the opportunity that I have to have this time by myself and be able to build, but it still takes all of my time.
Right.
All of it. And if there, what I guess I'm saying is, if there were other priorities in place, such as a family and a child, and I could definitely understand why, or I would agree with you. I don't visually see in my mind how this would be possible. I'm not gonna say it's impossible, but I don't see how it is possible.
Right. Like, so I asked my therapist the same question, and she was like, well, the truth is that most people don't do it. Like, how do you find the time? How do you make this happen? How do you succeed? And she was just like, well, most people don't. I mean, it's not an easy thing to do.
Sure.
By any means. And like, it is one thing if you're in a position to where you can dedicate the free time that you have to only working on certain projects or certain hobbies or, businesses or something like that on your own. But, it's crazy to me that so many people, it seems like they have time to work, do stuff on the side, go to the gym, hang out with their friends, like, have fun. And it's like, how, to be fair, most of them don't have a family, right?
Mm-hmm.
And also, most of them are either, from what I've heard, they're either getting not enough sleep, or they just do what they do full time. And even if it's not great, they're doing it because they really don't have another choice.
This is it's interesting that you're almost speaking from watching me from above. This is interesting because the one thing I will say about my situation is, probably a lot of these people that do all those things, I'm gonna say most people probably don't work 12, 13 hours a day.
Right.
I would say on average, and I'm not putting myself above anybody.
Of course.
I'm just speaking statistically for time purpose. But it's like, I got off work today, come home, let the dog out, change my clothes, picked up my buddy, 30 minutes in the gym. Make it back here. You almost meet me here, and we get to work here. We do all this stuff. So the only personal time that there would be allowed if I were to have a family is when I stretch myself at night when I should be sleeping.
Right.
And that answers your question. Is, like your therapist said, there really isn't time for you to be doing all that shit that you want to be doing.
Well, then, like,
but that's disappointing news for me to say. I can only imagine how it feels to hear.
Like, how do you do it then? It can't just be possible.
It's not fucking impossible,
right? Like, I mean, like, I've been doing it, right? And I have been, I have a full-time job, and it's okay. I don't hate it. I don't love it. It's not something I'm super passionate about. I mean, I would really like to expand into something else where there's just like a different, not really like a different field, but just like sort of a different field.
Mm-hmm.
Or expand on doing multiple other things that I am fully in control of, and
i.e. your own business.
Right.
Yeah.
And so right now, like, I'm working full time and I'm working on my own stuff, and it's I would say successful because I'm making things, right? I'm producing art, websites, projects, and I'm getting paid for it,
Mm-hmm.
right? So, and it's relatively consistent, but it's not consistent enough for me to do it full time, at least not in my eyes.
It's not comfortably make that leap, you know?
Right.
It's a big risk.
Because it's sort of like uncertain, right?
Yeah.
I don't have like a set in stone, like recurring customer base where I'm like, well, I know that these 100 people are going to be here forever.
Right, I can count on this client next week for another payday.
Yeah. And so, like, I just think to myself, there's certain things, in order for me to take the next step in my career, I have to learn some new languages, right? Some new coding languages.
Oh, God. Wait, hold on. Let me stop you. Coding languages.
Yeah.
I was upset about having to learn a new language in general.
Right.
Coding languages.
It's essentially the same thing.
Really?
Yeah.
God damn it.
It's a bit easier. Well, no, I would say that it pretty much is like the same thing.
You have to code in Chinese?
No, but probably like the major thing that you have to learn when learning a new coding language is just like the syntax, the different syntaxes you use. So, like, in order to use like one language, it has its own language, essentially. The way that you use certain things to execute certain things is unique mainly to that language in specific.
I see.
But coding as a whole, once you understand coding or programming as a whole, it's not that difficult to dive into a new language.
Okay.
Because they all generally function the same. They just have different syntaxes, different ways of using them, and for different applications, right? So understanding programming as a whole, when I'm just diving into the language, it clicks pretty instantly with me. I'm like, okay, that makes sense. Or like, this just replaces this, or like, this, instead of using this, I use this. Okay, that makes sense.
You know what I'm hearing? Understanding engines as a whole, and understanding that there's different variations of the engines that all work the same way a normal engine should.
Yeah, probably.
Cool.
Yeah. So
pretty legit. Sorry, I didn't mean to get you sidetracked.
No. It's okay. But so I have to learn these new languages, and I have to learn probably about 5 of them, and they are all things that I've never used before, right? They're all brand new to me. And I really want to, because I'm passionate about that side of the tech industry. It might as well be like a completely different field for me.
Yeah.
To jump into that side of it. And on top of that, I'm trying to figure out multiple different ways that I can have basically just like sources of income, that like passive income almost, where I'm making money for doing things, whether it takes minimal effort or whether I have to actually do something, but do like a number of things to have more of an established like thing. It's almost like to make sure that I'm not only trying to do one thing, and if that thing fails, then I'm fucked, right? If I'm doing 5 things, then if one thing fails, like, it's probably all right, right? And the things that I'm doing, or that I'm trying to do, sort of intertwine with each other, right? So there's sort of like me using one thing to kind of push things in different directions. Like, for example, one thing is like I do a lot of graphic design stuff, and so one option would be, like say I wanted to start becoming a content creator, right? Or I wanted to dive into like digital marketing or something. I could make YouTube videos and I could live stream me making these designs, making certain graphic projects, right? And then I can create a sort of like a print on demand business where I use those graphics for something like t-shirts or digital prints or book covers or something like that. And then, so what I started with was making graphics for clients or just making graphics in general, right? And then I could turn that into making YouTube videos, streaming the process, and selling those designs in multiple different avenues to, you know, a wider client base, right? So I went from one thing to four things, but they all sort of intertwined with each other. And those are all four ways that I could essentially make some sort of passive income, right? That where like the video gets more views, then I get more like monetization, that kind of stuff. You know, streaming, the recurring revenue from all the subs and stuff, and then the obviously selling stuff that just kind of happens where it happens, right? So in an example, not that that's like exactly my plan, but just a rough example, because I don't want to like necessarily disclose what I'm doing in my tech field at the moment.
A little hush hush.
Yeah. So anyway, that sort of idea though is what I mean by like it. If I'm working full time, right, and I only have this limited time when I'm not working, like how the fuck do you find time to do this stuff and then to make it successful? Because it's not easy. You can't just make a print on demand business.
No.
Right? You have to get advertising, you have to put it into places, you have to like keep up on statistics, you have to do research, you have to like, there's a lot of stuff that goes into it that takes time, right? And so like it's just always been a thing to me, like, is this the way that it goes? Is this what I'm supposed to be doing? Am I supposed to just be chugging along with the minimal amount of time that I have and then just hope that I can eventually achieve these things that I would like to achieve? And it's like, what do I replace rather than something else? If I use more of my free time to learn like these new coding languages and stuff, then I'm giving up another portion, which is like some of these other projects, or like doing a lesser amount of projects for clients, because I'm, you know, me learning these new languages is going to help my future, but it's not going to help in the moment, right? And so like, do I stop doing this thing and focus on these things? Or do I limit the amount of time that I do everything, like an hour for this, an hour for this, an hour for this? And then like, you know, or it's just crazy to me, you know?
It's an absurd thought for sure. To start, I would say my thought as far as chugging along and hoping that one day it gets done, like when it comes to thinking like that, for me is I am more terrified of ending up where I'm at right now, where I'm more terrified of ending up in the same situation that I'm in now in 20 years.
Right.
That thought is not okay with me, point blank.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you share that as well.
Yeah,
absolutely. Definitely not a question. You want to be successful, you want to be your own boss, and you want to be comfortable and do the work that it takes to get there, and that's not the question. It gets dangerous at the point where you're at right now, because now you're understanding either sacrifices have to be made, or there's no if, sacrifices have to be made, You just don't know where they're at,
Right.
where there's room to make sacrifices. And this is where that fucking balance is really going to be the most important time.
Well, yeah, because like you said, I mean, part of me is like happy, right? Because like I said, I guess I would consider myself being successful in the things that I'm doing.
Right.
Right. But not successful enough. And so
But I don't think there's anything wrong with that thought.
do I just keep going at this pace? How long am I going to be doing? Because to be honest with you, I can't, dude. I'm so fucking toasted.
Yeah.
That like I'm giving up things that I enjoy doing. I'm putting my family first when I can, and it's just like being busy doing all this stuff with this amount of time, and then trying to make sure that I'm getting enough sleep is just like it's not working well for me. And so like I'm at the point where like I need to replace something. Right? I need to replace the thing that takes up the most time in my life, which would be my full-time job. Right? But in order to replace that, I need something that is equally or more successful than that, which right now it's hard to find. And another thing that I'm not too like thrilled about is that even if I do learn these new languages and I go into this other field, there's still going to be a long period of time before I'm able to take that experience and then put it into something where I'm more in control of it. All right. So I'm basically going to have to go from this full-time job to another full-time job until opportunities arise where I can start to be in control of like who I work with, what projects I work on, what kind of content, what kind of things that I want to create, and have it be my choice, and in a position to where like I'm just overall really happy with like the team that I'm on and the things that I'm doing, and have that freedom to be picky and to choose these certain things, right? To sort of be like sought after as a developer and a team member that people want to work with, right? So it's like, yes, most people would probably say, well, if this is going to advance your future the most, right, bring you probably the most success, you should cut out some of the other things and put in time to learn these new things and then progress in your field and then see where that takes you. But like, I'm sick of just like waiting and seeing where things take me. And then every time that I say that to somebody, they're like, well, that's not how successful businesses are created. You don't just sit and wait for something to happen. You have to put in the time, you have to put in the work, you have to put in the effort. It's hard, it's draining. And I'm like, I know. Well, when does that stop? Like,
yeah, that's definitely the one thing that I see the most of, like of all the posts and all the successful and motivational shit that I come across, is like, you're gonna be fucking tired, you're gonna be fucking drained, and you're not gonna have time, and blah blah blah. But I raise the same question. How? I mean, I get that it's gonna be a while,
right?
but fuck, man. The one thing that I found particularly useful for me personally, I don't know about yours entire situation, but it's kind of a dangerous game, but I work at work. You know what I mean? I collaborate when I can.
Right.
And I try to make use of every fucking ounce of whatever spare time I have during the day, because at work sometimes I do have downtime, and that means I can get shit done for this.
Right.
But that's just my situation.
Well, and so I've actually kind of started doing that at my job as well, because it's more of like you go in, once you finish all that stuff that you need to do, you kind of just you're done. I mean, you either hang out and wait for something else to happen, or you just leave.
Right.
And so I've been trying to utilize that time to work on some stuff, whether it's like finishing up some graphics or whether it's working on some different coding languages. And so I've been trying to, instead of figuring out how to incorporate all this stuff into my free time that I have available right now, how can I maybe restructure that and reuse some of the time in different places, right? And so I've started doing that at work as well. And it's been working fine. I mean, it feels good. Instead of having an hour to do this, I might have 3 or 4 hours to do this, right? So it's beneficial in that aspect. And I just recently started all of this, so I don't know how it's going to pan out in the future. But this is just something that it's just been on my mind, like a lot of how it seems so easy for people to do.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that part of that is kind of just like how the world works right now, where like you know, the things that you see on social media and YouTube and, you know, Twitter and all this stuff is like you only see these successful moments.
Man, it's so hard to live in the real world. And I'm sure there's a bunch of people that would agree with this, but it's so difficult to live in the real world when you're staring at this fucking just happy Disneyland, fucking everybody's plastic and happy all the time,
Right.
everywhere. You know, like you said, that's all you see is success. You see everybody's happy, everybody's perfect, everything's just fine and dandy, but we're still standing in the swamp.
Right.
Right. So that's like a mind fuck, you know?
It is. And another fucked up part is that like a lot of it may not even be real. It's just fabricated stuff.
I mean, I would venture to say that that's probably most of it.
But it makes you feel bad anyway.
Yeah.
I mean, and to argue, you know, you shouldn't compare yourself to others and you shouldn't feel bad. But like
Also
we're
true.
human.
Also
like that
true.
is just a thing that you do. If you're like passionate about something, you know, like I really want to get into this thing. I want to start doing this thing. And you see that there's hundreds and thousands of people that have been super successful with this thing. And for you, it's just really, really, really fucking hard. I mean, it sort of is. It could either be really motivating because you're like, and inspiring because you're like, oh, well, you know, all these people are doing it. I want to learn. I want to be one of them. Or it can be demotivating because you're like, well, it seems so simple. But like in reality, how the fuck do you get to this point? Like,
Right.
how do you, it almost just seems like some people are able to just stop what they're doing and struggle really hard, which is actually like a pretty common story. I mean, most successful entrepreneurs, they start out and they're like living in really shitty apartments and they're working like a really part-time job and they're like barely able to feed themselves and they're fucking out going door to door and like talking to everybody that they can, and then finally, one day, all that hard work, all that struggling pays off and they get their opportunity. And then, boom, now they're this successful person, right? And so I know that it's not easy. I know this fabricated reality of like, oh, you know, just do this in 10 minutes, right? And you could be whatever. Like, all that's just bullshit. Like, but I just like maybe I just haven't put in enough time into doing this. Maybe I haven't put in enough effort.
Man, the feeling of defeat is never going to be uncommon.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's the only thing that you can take away from that is just not giving up. And I'll go back to my original. Well, what I was just saying was it's not fucking easy to not want to quit when we're staring at guys that just undeserving people that throw around bands like it's their job. You know?
Right.
It makes you just want to say fuck it. I will agree with you wholeheartedly on that. And then knowing that you're having a hard time staying awake anytime you don't do anything.
Yeah.
It's a defeating feeling, you know?
Yeah.
That's another thing. That's another unfortunate quality that I've learned to kind of adhere to a little bit. But some of the downtime at work, I use to sleep.
Right.
I have more room to make more sacrifices than you do, so that's unreasonable of me to say. But yeah, I wish that I knew what the numbers were and what they look like for us as individuals, but
Yeah.
I guess we'll just keep, you just keep hammering away and wait for that break.
I guess that's
Yeah. I mean, I'm not gonna stop trying to move forward, so I guess that's how that works.
right. And that's what I'm trying to avoid. I don't want to go backwards. Right. So I feel like I've made all this progress, and even though it's not necessarily where I want it to be, I've still progressed. I mean, I'm fine as an existing being. Like, my family's taken care of; they're fine. We eat every day. We pay our bill. You know what I mean? Like,
Everything is fine as is.
yeah.
But
And so, like, I'm not like in this horrible position where I'm like, everything's unfair and life is so hard for us. But I don't want to do something for the rest of my life that doesn't necessarily make me happy.
not only that, but it's not going to land you in any position that's going to be better than where you are now.
Right. And with all these people that are like working when they're fucking 80 because they don't want to just give up, is like, I don't want to be in that position.
That's equally as depressing.
Yeah. And I could do maybe a couple of things. Like, I could invest into different things. I can do the whole, 401k and Roth IRA and all that kind of stuff to sort of secure, which, yeah, I am. But the thing with, a lot of people say, well, a good way to use your money is to invest in stuff. But the thing is, like, I just don't fucking trust anybody. I don't trust anything.
Well, that's a whole nother conversation. Like, as far as, like, now you're talking about the economy and where that shit's going, because that doesn't look fucking good either.
Right.
And when you're investing and when you're doing all that stuff, don't get me wrong, it's a great plan. I'm not telling you no by any means. All I'm saying is when shit does go downhill, if it goes downhill, all your money is going to be is a fucking number on a computer screen that you can't touch.
Right.
And I don't like that either.
No. And you try to, like, learn about this stuff. You try to do research. You try to get into it. And then you're getting all this information from people who are just fucking scamming you.
That's what it feels like.
They're just swaying you and teaching you in this way to where they're making a profit from your decisions, and you're just fucked because you don't know who's trustworthy and who's not. Because although it's fucking snake-ass behavior, there's so many people that just don't give a fuck, right? They spread misinformation. They use, like, clickbait everything. They make themselves seem like they're so knowledgeable about this thing and it's so easy, and they're just fucking lying to you. And so it's like, in order to really learn about this stuff, I just have to take more time to make sure that everything I'm learning is accurate and it's from good sources, and it's taking, more of my time, which I don't have. Yeah, so it's like I'm kind of like waiting for something to happen before something else can happen, but I can't do this until I do this, and I don't have enough time for this, and I gotta wait. It's just like this never-ending battle of, like, it's a lot, and
it is a lot.
I don't know how to remedy it. And I have a lot of friends that I talk to where they're sort of in, like, a similar position where, some of them are very successful people. I mean, they're working really good jobs. They're getting paid a lot. But the thing that they're passionate about, the thing that they're trying to do for a living is something that is outside of that successful career, outside of that good, healthy, just I don't know. I guess like that comfortable lifestyle that they're living, they're like desperately trying to build this thing, and they're in the same position where like they don't have fucking time for anything. They sleep like 2 hours a day, and they're like trying and trying and trying and trying and trying to make these things work. And it's like, is that just? I found myself in a group of people that I've met from all different angles and all different platforms and stuff, and they all have similar stories. It's like, is that just how it is? Like, is and like some of them have been doing this for years. Like they've been trying to build up their own shit for fucking 4, 5, 6 years and been in this same position. And it's like I don't want that to happen. Like I don't want to be looking at myself in 10 years and be like, holy shit, I'm still doing nothing. Like, but I'm trying my best to do something. Like, there's literally nothing else that I can do with the time that I have. I just can't.
Well, I think I just kind of going through the same motions that you're going through currently, just a little bit longer, having a little bit more time to stew on it. I would just like to add that I feel like as long as you continue to use that thought as your conduit, and you continue to try and be open-minded about what you're doing and how to utilize things a little bit better, and I don't think there's any reason you're not going to be successful on your own. I'm impatient as fuck.
Yeah,
I am, especially when it comes to all this shit. Like, instant gratification would be fucking really nice right about now.
Yeah,
because I'm tired too. But just I can't say anything else other than I feel you. I feel what you're saying, and I don't have an end result, but just don't give up.
Yeah, no, I'm not. And as much as I've thought about it, I'm like, well, then I would have just wasted more fucking time.
Right.
So
you're going to find yourself in a place you don't want to be faster than ever.
Right.
And I think that's important.
It's just like, dude, my life is flying past me. It's like from month to month almost. It's just like a fucking blur, because literally like all of my time I'm doing something. So like I never just have time to sit and just appreciate life, because I'm constantly doing something. And it's like, it's so surprising to me. It's like when I finally look and I have like 5 minutes and I'm like, oh shit, it's been like 5 months. What the fuck? Like, how does this even happen? And like, I don't want that to happen for much longer. And then, you know, I don't want to sacrifice like time with my family or my kid or anything. You know, I don't want to be that dad that's just like, oh no, go play because dad's working. I'm like, can't hang out with you because I'm busy doing another thing. Like that just sucks, right? I don't know, man. I don't.
It's fine.
That's pretty much it. I'm doing it.
Yeah.
I just it's tough.
It's hard.
And I give massive props to all the people out there who have made it happen in similar circumstances. Like, good for you.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's all I can say.
It's a truly one of the hardest struggles that somebody that's trying to be successful can have.
Yeah.
It really is, because at the end of the day, you have, as far as I can tell, pretty amazing support system at home with your wife. You know, and you have your full-time job, and like you said, things are overall good. They're just not where you want them to be.
Right.
So just don't stop, you know? That's all I can say. It sucks. It hurts, but I'm talking to you like I found the end, because I sure fucking have.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
But we talked a little bit about cutting this one off a little bit early, and I've been thinking while we were doing all this, we're going to do a crash course on the edit for this one and make some announcements on this one. I think we dropped this one now.
Sure.
You haven't been around for a little bit. There's lots of, in light of everything that we just talked about, all the small steps that we've been taking towards a bigger, better production there's been a flood of things that have happened. And I think we should, end it with all the progress that we've made and all the progress that's coming up.
I agree.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think the podcast is coming along beautifully.
It's been a year and probably like a year and 3/4 of a year into this. And I don't have to tell anybody that started off at a dining room table with the worst equipment I could have bought. And we're here, and as far as some of our close listeners go, we are compared to some of the bigger podcasts as far as quality goes. Everything looks great. You brought to the table some new intro material, and we got some new dynamic coming, which is super exciting. They're going to hear it tonight.
Yeah.
So,
did you want to talk about the...
Yeah. That's another thing that I'm going to be opening tonight as well. There is a whole new line of merchandise for the Me vs. Me brand and podcast, It's got a couple new logos. Unfortunately, the logo for the podcast is not something that's easily designed on clothing, so it will remain the main face, but we got some really cool t-shirts. We got women's tank tops. We got hats and hoodies for spooky season coming. And there's variations of all of them. I'm not going to tell you what the surprises are, but make sure when you shop on Etsy, look for Me vs. Me merch. You can order, like I said, any variation, sizes, anything crazy that you want to get. And I think there's an option to follow or subscribe to that shop. I suggest you do, because as the months go on, there's going to be some one-off designs that come and go. And you might want to be a part of those, because it's going to be exciting and it's going to be really, really beneficial to the podcast. So if you would, your support means the world.
Yeah, we definitely appreciate it. And it's pretty cool. And it's, this is just the beginning stages. It's only going to get lots and lots better. And we've also been pondering with the idea of video, and we're just working out some little kinks with that. And then in the foreseeable future, that's going to be incorporated as well.
Video is going to be a big part of this, hopefully soon.
Yeah.
Like you said, working out kinks. It's a whole new line of equipment that we got to look into. Not made of money just yet, but with your support. No, I'm kidding. There was something else that I didn't run by you. I thought about the idea of doing one live every month to start.
Yeah,
I think I'm gonna do that to see if we can help the numbers out a little bit and have some fun along the way.
I think that'd be exciting
if we don't die first. But yeah, it's been requested by a few different parties, and I didn't really want to do it, I'll be honest with you. But it's been pushing and pushing, so I think maybe it's time. Not only that, but there's actually a couple of platforms that have been pushing for me to do it. Very specifically, too, and I'll tell you more about that.
Okay.
But
I know how to do all of that. So it definitely could happen if it's something that you would like to happen.
Yeah. Yep. One other thing in the making. But, yeah, lots of new exciting stuff. Enjoy the new intro. Enjoy the merch. And like, follow, share, subscribe, do all the things. Click every button.
Yeah. Well,